Hello, I've got a little instructional video here for you for your LV08 task 1, which was your excessively heavy steering fault that you did in the workshop. We're going to be looking today at the focus that you can see over here. I'm going to do some reminders of how we took the car apart, the components that we tested and how we did the task. Over here I've got a copy of your job card which you will have on your e-portfolio. You will need to populate your registration number, your year of manufacture, make and model and your engine VIN number. All these details are available on Teams. We've put the registration numbers on Teams so you can access those. So we're going to do a brief description now of the work that we've carried out. So on this task, one of the first things we would do to diagnose excessively heavy steering would be to speak to the customer and get an idea of what the fault is, so what's happening with the vehicle, when it's at fault, what sort of problems they're having. We might possibly take it for a road test, turn the vehicle lock to lock with the engine running and make some visual checks of those components. So these are all things that you would do before you actually work on the car. So we're going to go over to the car now and I'm going to show you the power steering pump which we've removed for speed. On our power steering pump you've got a belt driven pulley, and in here we've got our return pipe to the hydraulic reservoir, and this is our feed pipe. Now in our feed pipe we have a little filter, and the reason this pump is at fault is because this filter was clogged, and you can see inside there just how much debris is in there, and this is probably because the hydraulic fluid has never ever been changed in probably 10 or 12 years of ownership. So it's quite a simple fault and it's quite a common fault, and to remove the belt, to remove the pump, it's a case of going down in the engine bay and removing the serpentine belt, which is self-tensioning, which you can see there on the video. We've also got to remove some components that might be the water reservoir and some of the pipes around there, associated objects that may be in the way that give us more access to get to the power steering pump. So all these components have to be taken off, and you've got a nice picture here of the power steering pump that you can use if you screenshot it. You've got evidence of the basket that would be clogged, the filter if you like, the housing that lives in there. So that can be used for evidence. And basically when we remove these, we use tools such as open-ended spanners that fit nicely behind the pulley to enable us to move the pump off. And you may have to use a 3/8 drive ratchet, perhaps a deep one as well, because it gives you a little bit better access, a little bit more leverage. So that's the task that you completed. And if we go back over to our board, just pop these down here. If we go back over to our board, I've put some of the technical data up that you would have used. So for instance, if ever we're doing a steering check or a heavy steering fault, we would check the tyre pressures and top those up. We'd also perhaps track the vehicle for the customer to ensure that the steering geometry data is correct, and I've put this information on here. And we'd also have to check the tension of the drive belt. Now most vehicles nowadays are self-tensioning. This is a hydraulic fault, so it's not an electrical fault, so where it asks for the electric motor resistance values, that is not applicable. As you know, we always start our lessons with a risk assessment, and we always wear our correct PPE. I've listed some of the PPE up here that we use, goggles being the most important, and I've already put my barrier cream on, and you can see my ID badge around my neck for safeguarding purposes. So when we fill in our risk assessments, you know some of the things that we do and the people we need to speak to if something goes wrong. So that's just a recap basically of this task, and this will help you fill in your e-portfolio information on here. Thank you very much. I hope it helps.